everyone. My name is Allison Greedle, and thank you for joining me today on this new series called Mom Boss. As a career-driven female and who is also a mom, I found it comforting to talk to other women who've gone through the same struggles and offered insight, and I want to share that with everyone. So joining me today is an amazing woman, and I'm going to quote your LinkedIn profile because it's so perfectly written, that she's a speaker, a revenue consultant, champion of moms, a relentless supporter of entrepreneurs, and a fun person to follow, which is so true. Welcome, Ashley Quinto Powell.
Thank you so much for having me, Allison.
Thank you for joining me today. So I'm going to link your TED Talk up above and as well in the description called Executive Motherhood, Dynamos with Kids in Tow. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you got to that point?
Sure. So my TEDx sort of starts with my commute to Chicago, which was a little unusual. I got a great job in Chicago and my family didn't want to move. And so a girlfriend of mine pulled me aside and said, I know you don't want to move. Why don't you just get an apartment and commute? And it honestly was really eye-opening for me because before that point, I really hadn't thought it was an option for me, which is kind of surprising because I've been in consulting for a really long time, including spending 8 years selling, traveling independent consultants, people who did 410s in a different city every week. And it just still hadn't occurred to me because so few of those people were moms. And so the idea of executive motherhood is kind of the idea that, listen, I really like the way that I push forward on my career, and this isn't something that I do in the meantime, or this is how I drive the success of my family, and we don't really have a lot of space for women, especially moms, to talk like that. We sort of expect moms to apologize for their place in the workforce and to say, oh, if I would love to spend more time with my kids. We don't have a lot of mechanisms where moms get to say, actually, I love this. And I prefer to be the one working. I love my kids. It doesn't mean I love them any less. I just really like also being a successful person. And also on the other side of that, we don't have a lot of corporations who give moms good options when it comes to how to stay in the workforce during like the years 0 to 3, when your kids are really hard, everything is really tough. And instead you're just expected to sort of cover it up, suck it up, and perform exactly the same or better than you did before.
I would agree. I think that is a really big struggle for me. I currently have 2 littles that are 1 and almost 3. And it is tough because unfortunately, as a woman, you can love your career and want to do that. But if you want to have kids, we're the only ones that can do it. Like, I wish my husband could have had kids because we'd have tons of them, but that I have to then take 3 months off of work. And, then there's everything that goes along with having that child. It's safe because my husband doesn't watch my channel, such a good supporter, but that I was also the one that got up with him in the night, and my kids suck at sleep. They hate it or hate me, one of the two, but it was getting up like every 2 hours until they're like a year. Mm-hmm. And that's tough. That is really, really tough. And workplaces don't really, like you said, they don't promote or have programs in place to allow women to advance in their careers and stay in the workforce. It's kind of like you have to drop being a mom at the door and do your job or leave. That's kind of the options. I remember my first kid, he was our miracle baby. We didn't think we'd have children. We had children much later in life. And I struggled going back to work because I loved my job. I loved my career. But I also just had this baby and I was really having a difficult time with that separation or the thought of that separation. And I asked them, I was a marketing director and a lot of my job is on the phone, right? So I was like, well, why can't I do part-time in the building, part-time home, part-time this or that, you know, trying to work with them as far as how can I really succeed in this role? Because in general, performers do better when they're happy. You want me to sell? Well, make me happy and I'll sell the shit out of whatever you got, you know? But instead, they're always trying to stifle you and to fit into the box that they've created. And, you know, what advice would you have for women that are in that struggle and trying to find a balance and want to advance their careers, but maybe either haven't had children yet or thinking about having children or worried about what that's going to look like and if they're going to be able to advance in their career once this tiny human tries to weigh them down?
Well, you know, I think, and also I absolutely feel for you. I also had a child who was averse to sleep, and she didn't sleep through the night until she was well into 2, almost 3. And I used to have this fantasy where someone would make an appointment, just like I'd find an appointment for like an hour or 2, and I wouldn't really understand what it was about. And then I'd like get there and they'd say, "You go take a nap." And I would be surprised that instead of having to come up with a TPS report, that I would have an opportunity to nap. So I'm with you. But I think, you know, part of the hard part is that we expect really driven moms to understand exactly what they want and exactly what that looks like when they are very torn between, okay, is this so hard that I still want in? And we don't have a lot of like mom mentors where someone can say, you know, this actually gets easier. Your children start to sleep at night. And so then the onus is on the mom to figure out what she wants, how she wants that to look. And that's really, really tough. It's impossible to be what you cannot see. And then we expect moms to have this long range vision of how their entire, career as a mom and as an executive is going to look ahead of time when everything is so uncertain. And I think one of the problems that I point out is, you know, at exactly the point that we're really struggling with, listen, I think this is too hard. Is it going to be like this forever? Our husbands have an opportunity to come in and say, you know, it really is so wonderful to have you home. My career is doing great. Why don't you just stay home? And that feels like a more comforting option. And so women, for lack of a better word, can get stuck that way. And we can see our husbands' careers skyrocket at the expense of our own under the guise of, well, this is better for the kids. And I'll tell you, I actually feel really strongly that that it's good to have someone home. My husband was home for 5 years. And when we finally sent him back to work, it was a revelation. He was so much happier. Yeah. And so I don't think that there's anything wrong with making that decision. I still think it would be better if we had an equal number of men and women who made the decision to stay home.
I think that is tough to, there's a lot of families too that maybe that's not an option financially to be able to stay home. I know we both struggled with that. My husband was like, I'll stay home. But we had the thing where, he was the insurance provider for the family. And then, with mine was the income part that it just kind of, no, you don't have the patience to be home with these children either. Like you would love to, but I think there's this idea sometimes, and I know there's some great men. My dad was home. He works from home. So he had the flexibility to take us to school in the morning and, do the whole morning routine. My mom is a teacher. And so, it was nice. The school vacation things lined up and everything like that, but he was amazing at it. My husband doesn't have the patience. He has this idea that being home with the kids is laying on the couch, watching TV, and they just play. And I'm like, what happens? Like when I'm home, that doesn't happen. I think I don't even get the TV on, or at least not my shows. He watches his shows. My husband does. Mine is, I'm going to throw Thomas on TV, Crick. So I can shoot off these 5 emails that I need to attend to, and so there's this completely different view of what being home is for one parent or the other sometimes. But I think, it's like you said, very noble choice as long as it's a choice. Because I think sometimes it ends up, like you said, where the man like offers it up, like, here, I'm doing this for you. And maybe the woman's like, I don't really want to stay home, but should I stay home? Like, is that what I'm supposed to do? And so I think some women almost feel like they have to, or if they're at a point where they currently don't make as much as their husband, well, then it's just a financially more, appropriate thing at the time for you to stay home. But you could have the trajectory in your role that in 5 years you could make more than your husband. So does it really make sense for the woman to stay home at that time? And I think it's wonderful that, that's why I appreciate you doing this, to speak out and let women know it's okay to have both. You can be a mom and you can be awesome at your career, and you don't have to pick to do one or the other. And I want to change the stereotyping or our culture of like almost shaming women for wanting to advance. I don't know if you faced this when you made that choice about, going to Chicago and having an apartment, that if you're away from your child for, a couple days, that other women are like, oh my God, can you believe that? That, except for that, men travel for work all the time and are gone all week long, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks out of the month, but they're applauded for their sacrifice to provide for their families. And so I really want to spread, and help stop the culture shaming of women wanting to have both, because I'll tell you, I also worked in senior living, and I know how much it costs to get old. It's a lot of money, and the way our millennials are working, or their idea or view of, working, they're not going to be supporting us. So we need to take care of us, not only our current family, but planning for the future. I think a lot of people don't plan for their future. And maybe I'm lucky that I come from my dad, who worked from home, is a financial planner. So he's all about the retirement planning. And so I think that helped me at a younger age really look at, well, these things are important. It's not just paying for your mortgage today. It's what about tomorrow, 20 years? What if something happens to your child, that they're sick or ill or whatever the case, and you have to take off time of work to take, to be away? Do you have the support for that financially? And so, I think sometimes when people do stay home, whether they want to or they're forced to, they miss out on, that potential income or the security blanket, that what if something happens and now they don't have that because they're home. I want to ask, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Oh, goodness.
I know. I was thinking about that for myself, and I was like, it doesn't matter. I think I put so many restraints on myself and so much expectation and what should be, instead of just do it.
Yeah. I at 20 was already loving, like, advancing. I was really, really ambitious. And I was already making like big-ish money, and love and getting a taste of like what it was to be pretty successful. And I really love that. And I actually think like having early jobs was really foundational to the way that I think about my career. And that, like, I've always thought of myself as a successful person who works hard. And if you have that view of yourself, that's what you do. And I think probably I would tell myself to be a little bit more serious. I was also having a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think I like that you touched on that, that you were driven from the beginning. I've been looking at different, characteristics of people that make them successful. And I think sometimes success it's almost like a characteristic you're born with. that the driven part of it, that I also in my early 20s was, making biggish money that compared to my peers, I think it was significantly higher. And because I worked 3 jobs, I was ambitious, and I had this thing like, I want to be rich, and I think a lot of people dream about it. They go buy lottery tickets and think like, I would love to be a millionaire someday. And it's like, no, go do it. You can't just sit there and wait for it, And so I think I always knew, well, I want to be rich. I'm going to make it happen. And I think that really helps set that in motion for yourself, is being driven and having aspirations to want to achieve things, knowing that you can have, like, believing in yourself that you can achieve these things. It's not winning the lottery where your odds are, I don't even know what they are, like 1 in a billion or something.
1 in a lot, anyway.
Yeah, 1 in never going to happen. So I think that really plays a big part of that, and helping women achieve that next level. Just believing in yourself that you can have it all.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Sort of. Maybe not at the same time. And not without a lot of help.
Right. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me today, Ashley. I appreciate it. And I will link below, and like I said, up above, your TED Talk, and where to contact you. I didn't ask you about the Dames. Can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dames is an organization. It's a national organization, and I'm the chapter president for Madison and Chicago. It's for women with 6 and 7 figure businesses, and women who are director level, VP level, or C-suite level. And it has the express purpose of getting more women to that 7-figure mark and more women into the C-suite. And it's very focused on fun. All of the events that I throw are start with a comedian, and there's lots of absolutely exquisite networking and lots of laughter. And then we award a woman with a 7-figure business with the Dame of Influence Award, and ask her all sorts of non-obvious questions that she then doesn't answer with the marketing approved answer. We get the real nitty-gritty answers. It's been great.
Oh, great. So I will link that below too. So if you're a woman that this applies to you, please apply to join that group. If you're Madison or Chicago, and there are Dames groups all over the country, correct?
Mm-hmm. So yep, and a really thriving virtual chapter too, if there's not one in your city.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thanks again for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.
Thank you, Allison.
Bye.